Studio, a woman only respects you when you detach completely. There's a certain power in silence that most men never understand until they lose everything. You see, when you detach completely, not half-heartedly, not pretending to, but asterisk truly letting go asterisk, you start to see how energy shifts. The moment you stop needing her, the moment you stop reaching out, explaining, chasing, or proving your worth, that's the moment she begins to feel something she hasn't felt in a long time: respect. Because when you are constantly there, constantly available, constantly trying to fix, to prove, to convince, she stops valuing what you give. You can love her deeply, but if that love comes from fear, fear of losing her, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, it stops feeling like love and starts feeling like weakness. And no woman is drawn to a man who has lost his strength trying to keep her. When a man learns to detach, he doesn't stop caring. He simply stops asterisk over caring. Asterisk, he stops trying to control how she feels, how she reacts, what she chooses. Detachment is not about walking away with bitterness. It's about walking away with clarity. It's the realization that peace is more valuable than approval, and self-respect is worth more than temporary affection. You might think chasing her will make her see your worth. You might believe that being there, no matter what, will win her heart. But it doesn't, because the moment she knows you can't walk away, she knows she owns you. And once a woman feels she owns your emotions, she will start testing your limits. Not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. She wants to know if your strength is real, if your words hold weight. The truth is, a woman can only love a man she respects, and she can only respect a man who respects himself enough to asterisk walk away when he is no longer valued. Asterisk, when you detach completely, you communicate something powerful without saying a word. You tell her, I want you, but I don't asterisk need asterisk you. And that difference changes everything. She starts to feel your absence, not because you're playing games, but because she realizes the emotional control you carry. She remembers the energy, the attention, the warmth you gave so freely, and now it's gone. She feels that void. Your silence echoes louder than your words ever did. But this isn't just about women, it's about you. It's about becoming a man who doesn't depend on validation to feel valuable, a man who doesn't crumble when affection fades, a man who stands on his own 2 feet, grounded, calm, unbothered. Detachment is strength disguised as stillness. It's saying, I choose peace over chaos, self-respect over desperation, growth over comfort. When you stop chasing, something shifts. You begin to attract differently. You stop chasing people and start attracting purpose. You stop trying to prove your worth and start living it. You begin to realize that the one who's meant for you will never need to be convinced. She'll asterisk feel asterisk it in your energy, your calmness, your confidence. So when you let go fully. Don't do it to get a reaction. Don't do it to make her miss you. Do it because you've finally remembered who you are. The kind of man who doesn't beg to be loved, the kind who commands respect through silence, presence, and purpose. Studio, a woman only respects you when you detach completely. When you stop chasing her, something powerful happens. The energy between you shifts. The endless cycle of pursuit, explanation, and overgiving finally breaks. See, most men think if they just keep showing effort, if they just prove how much they care, if they just stay consistent long enough, she'll eventually understand their value. But that's not how respect works. Respect is not earned through constant availability, it's earned through asterisk discipline. asterisk through knowing when to give and when to step back. A woman doesn't lose interest because you care. She loses interest because your care becomes predictable, excessive, and desperate. You've made her your world, and the moment she senses that you've built your entire emotional state around her approval, she no longer sees a leader, she sees a follower. And deep down, she cannot follow a man who follows her emotions. When you detach, you stop seeking her validation. You stop waiting for her to decide how you feel about yourself. You begin to stand in your own power, silent but grounded. That's when she starts to notice you differently, because your silence, your absence, your refusal to engage in emotional chaos, that creates contrast. It creates mystery. It makes her question what she once took for granted. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean hate or resentment or coldness. It means your peace is no longer negotiable. You can love her, you can appreciate her, but you will not allow your entire identity to revolve around her. You stop reacting. You stop chasing validation. You stop trying to fix every little misunderstanding just to avoid losing her. Instead, you start letting her feel what it's like to lose asterisk you. Asterisk, that shift is everything. When you detach completely, you no longer argue from emotion. You no longer explain your worth. You stop talking and start asterisk, showing asterisk through distance, through focus, through self-control. A woman doesn't respect the man who tries to convince her he's valuable. She respects the man who knows he is, even when she doesn't see it. You see, attachment is born from fear. Fear of losing love, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. Detachment, on the other hand, comes from strength. It's the quiet understanding that you can walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you refuse to lose yourself trying to be understood. And ironically, that's when she starts to care again, because when you detach, she feels the loss of your emotional investment. The energy she used to receive without effort is gone, and now she has to earn it. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects her behavior. She starts to realize that the same man she once ignored now holds all the power, because you no longer seek her to complete you. That's when the tables turn. She begins to value the version of you that's focused, calm, and emotionally independent. Because deep down, every woman is drawn to a man who leads himself, a man who can love her deeply but still walk away peacefully if his respect is compromised. So when you detach, don't do it to punish her, do it to protect your peace. Do it to remind yourself that your worth was never dependent on how someone else treated you. Do it because real strength isn't in holding on, it's in knowing when to let go. And once you reach that level of inner calm, that unshakable control, you won't need to chase anyone. Because your energy, your confidence, and your silence will speak louder than any words ever could. That's the kind of man she respects, the one who could have stayed, but chose himself instead. Studio, a woman only respects you when you detach completely. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop begging to be understood, something powerful happens. You begin to shift from chasing respect to asterisk, commanding asterisk it. Most men fall into the trap of over-explaining, over-texting, over-analyzing every reaction, trying to make her see their side. But the truth is, the more you try to explain your worth, the more it starts to sound like you're uncertain of it. Real confidence doesn't defend itself, it stands silently and lets time reveal the truth. Detachment begins in the mind before it ever reaches your actions. It's the moment you realize you don't need to convince anyone to value you, because if someone truly sees your worth, They'll feel it in how you carry yourself, in your tone, your discipline, and your calm. You don't need to raise your voice to prove a point. You prove it through your composure. You prove it by not reacting to things beneath you. When you stop explaining and begging, you reclaim your energy. You stop pouring your strength into meaningless arguments and start investing it into your growth. A woman doesn't respect a man who's always trying to prove himself. She respects the man who walks away when the conversation stops serving his peace. Because silence from a man who once cared deeply is louder than any apology, louder than any explanation. It makes her asterisk feel asterisk the weight of his absence, not just notice it. Women are intuitive, they feel energy before they understand it. When you detach and go quiet, she can sense that something has changed. It's not anger, it's not manipulation, it's control. Emotional control, the kind that's rare, the kind that feels unshakable, and that control draws her curiosity. She starts wondering, why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he trying to fix this? Has he moved on? That uncertainty forces her to reflect. Because when a man truly detaches, it's not an act, it's peace. You no longer need to explain why you're pulling back. You no longer chase clarity from someone who isn't listening. You've accepted that not every connection deserves your explanation, not every disagreement deserves your reaction, and not every silence deserves to be filled with words. Detachment is about moving with quiet confidence, not to hurt her, not to play games, but to remind yourself that your peace is sacred. It's realizing that walking away from chaos isn't weakness, it's power, because when you no longer need to be heard, you've already won. That's the paradox. The less you chase, the more she listens. The less you explain, the more she wonders. The less you react, the more she respects you. Your calm becomes magnetic. Your silence becomes a statement. Your distance becomes a lesson. She starts to see what she couldn't when you were always available, that your energy had value, that your attention was a privilege, that your love wasn't something to be taken for granted. The respect you were trying to earn through words now grows naturally through your absence, because when a man knows who he is, he doesn't chase validation, he attracts it through his stillness. So stop over-explaining, stop trying to fix what someone doesn't want to understand, stand tall in your silence. Because detachment is not the end of love, it's the beginning of self-respect. And once you master that, you'll realize something beautiful: you never needed to prove your worth. You only needed to remember it. That's when she finally sees you again, not because you convinced her, not because you chased her, but because your silence spoke the truth her ego refused to hear. That's real power, that's real detachment, and that's when respect finally returns. Studio, a woman only respects you when you detach completely. A woman feels the weight of your absence far more than the comfort of your presence. When you're always around, always checking in, always available, she becomes accustomed to your energy. It stops feeling special, it becomes background noise. But the moment you pull away, the moment you stop showing up in the same way, she feels the silence you leave behind. That's when she starts to notice the value of what she had. See, most men think that being constantly present proves love. They think consistency means never leaving her side, always being there no matter what. But what they don't realize is that asterisk over presence kills appreciation. Asterisk, when you give her too much access, she stops seeing your presence as a gift. She sees it as a given. She forgets what it feels like to miss you, to crave your energy, to earn your attention. That's why your absence is powerful. When you detach completely, you give her the space to feel your impact. She begins to notice how your energy used to make her feel safe, grounded, focused. She remembers how your presence carried calm, direction, and purpose. But now that energy is gone and she starts to feel the imbalance. The silence becomes louder than your words ever were. Absence forces reflection. It makes her think. When you were chasing, explaining, and constantly proving yourself, she never had to reflect. She was comfortable knowing you were always there. But when you step back, she's left with questions. She starts to wonder what changed. She replays your last conversation. She rethinks the things she said, the way she acted. Your silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, she sees herself clearly. But the key is this: your detachment has to come from peace, not pride. If you walk away out of anger, she feels your bitterness. But if you walk away calmly, with strength and self-respect, she feels your asterisk value. Asterisk detachment is not about ignoring her to manipulate her emotions. It's about choosing to protect your energy because you know your worth no longer belongs where it isn't respected. A woman doesn't respect the man who's always accessible. She respects the one who values himself enough to walk away when the energy isn't mutual. When she realizes she can no longer predict your actions, when she can no longer rely on your constant attention, that unpredictability draws her attention back. Because now she has to earn what she once took for granted. You see, your absence is a reminder that your presence was never owed, it was given. That your attention, your time, your love were privileges, not entitlements. And when you detach, she finally starts to understand that truth. She starts to appreciate the strength behind your silence, the maturity in your restraint, the confidence in your distance. The beauty of detachment is that it's not revenge, it's self-mastery. You're not trying to make her feel pain, you're simply no longer offering what wasn't appreciated. You've shifted your energy from proving your worth to protecting your peace, and when she feels that shift, it shakes her. Because the same man who once chased her is now unreachable, not because he doesn't care, but because he's evolved. And here's the truth: the more you focus on your peace, your goals, your purpose, the more magnetic you become. A man who doesn't need validation becomes irresistible. A man who can love deeply yet walk away gracefully is unforgettable. So yes, your absence will be felt. She'll miss the conversations, the calm, the consistency, but more than that, she'll miss the version of herself she was when she was with you. Because your presence raised her standard, and your absence reminds her what that standard truly meant. That's the paradox of detachment. When you stop chasing, she finally starts noticing. When you stop showing up, she starts reflecting. And when you disappear from her world, that's when she realizes you were the rarest presence she ever had. A woman only respects you when you detach completely. Detachment isn't about ignoring her, it's about prioritizing peace. Most men misunderstand this. They think detaching means becoming cold, silent, or emotionless, but that's not detachment. True detachment is emotional maturity. It's the ability to care deeply while still protecting your energy. It's loving someone without losing yourself. It's choosing peace even when your ego wants to fight, argue, or prove a point. When you detach, you're not saying, "I don't love you." You're saying, "I love myself enough not to chase chaos." You've reached a point where drama no longer excites you, where emotional instability no longer pulls you in. You start craving calm, clarity, and alignment. You no longer want a love that drains you, you want a connection that flows. A woman can feel the difference. When you're detached, your energy changes. You're not reacting to every mood swing, not trying to fix every emotion she throws at you. You're centered. You've stopped making her emotions the controller of your peace. That emotional discipline is what earns respect. Because it shows that your happiness is self sustained. It doesn't depend on her validation, her attention, or her affection. When a man reaches that point, he becomes powerful, his silence becomes strength, his distance becomes discipline, his calm becomes confidence, because a woman knows a man who can't be moved emotionally by pressure, guilt, or manipulation is a man she can trust, respect, and admire. You see, peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It's what separates men who chase from men who lead. A peaceful man doesn't need to raise his voice to prove a point. He doesn't need to argue to feel understood. He doesn't need to control anyone. He leads by example through consistency, composure, and self respect. And that's what draws people in, especially women. Because deep down, a woman desires stability. She might test your patience, challenge your emotions, or try to pull reactions out of you not to hurt you, but to feel your strength. She wants to see if your peace is real or fragile. She wants to know if you can remain calm when she's in chaos. And when you refuse to lose yourself in the storm, that's when she feels safe around you. That's when she respects you. Detachment doesn't mean you don't communicate. It means you communicate without fear. You can express yourself without begging to be understood. You can love without needing constant reassurance. You can walk away when the energy is off, not out of spite, but because peace is non negotiable. You start understanding that love built on control, anxiety, or insecurity is not love, it's attachment. And attachment always leads to pain, so you choose differently. You choose stillness over reaction. You choose distance over drama. You choose silence over explaining your worth. And slowly, you start attracting a different type of connection, one that's built on mutual respect, not emotional dependence. When you detach completely, you stop chasing closure, you stop waiting for apologies, you stop needing people to change. You simply accept what is and focus on what you can control yourself. You invest that same energy you were pouring into others into your goals, your purpose, your growth. And that shift changes everything because nothing is more attractive than a man who protects his peace. A man who can love without obsession, who can care without control, who can stay calm when others lose themselves. That's the kind of strength a woman can feel. That's the kind of energy that commands respect. So remember this: detachment is not rejection. It's self respect. It's not giving up, it's growing up. It's choosing to live from a place of balance instead of emotional chaos. And when you master that balance, you become untouchable, calm, confident, and complete within yourself. That's when she truly respects you, not because you walked away, but because you stood firm in your peace. Studio, a woman only respects you when you detach completely. Because the moment you detach, truly detach, you reclaim your power. Detachment is the quiet shift that turns everything around. It's when your energy no longer comes from fear or insecurity, but from strength and self awareness. When you detach, you take back control over the one thing you actually own: your focus. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. When that energy is no longer consumed by chasing validation, it starts building your confidence, your peace, your direction. So many men lose themselves because they make a woman the center of their world. They give her their emotional energy, their time, their thoughts, their identity, and then wonder why she stops respecting them. But respect doesn't come from submission. It comes from strength, from showing that you can love her deeply yet still choose yourself fully. When you detach, you send a message that doesn't need to be spoken. I am complete with or without you. That message carries weight. Because most people are addicted to being needed, they mistake attachment for love and dependence for connection. But when you don't need her to feel whole, she begins to feel something she hasn't felt before, admiration. Because now she sees a man who stands tall on his own, who moves with purpose, who doesn't fold under emotion. This kind of man doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't react, he observes. He doesn't argue for attention, he commands it through his calm. And when she feels that difference, it shifts everything. Suddenly, your energy is magnetic. Your distance creates curiosity. Your focus on your own purpose becomes the very thing that reignites hers. Reclaiming your power isn't about ego, it's about energy. It's realizing that your emotions are not meant to be tossed around by someone else's behavior. You begin to master yourself. You start setting boundaries not to punish others, but to protect your peace. You no longer allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent decisions. That's real strength, the kind of strength that cannot be faked, because it's built from silence, discipline, and self-respect. The man who has detached is calm because he's grounded. He's no longer trying to be understood by everyone. He knows that not everyone is meant to understand his journey. He knows that love that costs his peace is too expensive. And that realization frees him. He can love fully without losing himself. He can walk away without bitterness. He can be alone without feeling lonely. When a woman feels that kind of power, it changes her perspective. She starts to respect you, not because you've forced her to, but because you've shown her what emotional stability looks like. She realizes that your happiness doesn't depend on her reactions, and that makes her see you differently. It makes her see you as a man of substance, of depth, of control, and this is the essence of detachment, not closing your heart, but protecting it. Not walking away from love, but walking away from dependency. You stop pouring from an empty cup. You stop proving your worth through constant giving. You stop trying to save someone at the cost of losing yourself, because once you reclaim your energy, you become unshakable. You stop living in reaction to others and start living in alignment with yourself. You begin to attract peace, not conflict, respect, not pity, love, not attachment. So, when you detach completely, understand this: it's not the end of something, it's the beginning of everything. It's the moment you realize that power was never lost, it was just misplaced in someone else's hands. And the second you take it back, you don't just gain respect from others, you gain it from yourself.